I think almost in any verticals, any industry right now, anybody is not paying attention to this technology is making a big mistake. All I can say is retails when e-commerce were coming into the market. If you're a retailer, you didn't pay attention, it was cause you a lot of problems. Blockbuster, Netflix, this is a big disruptor. And the gap that I was mentioning before, so one who uses technology, so one who doesn't, there is a gap, but you can still survive with that gap. But when you're talking about like a 100x inefficiency and output, you're not going to compete.
Hi, Adam Gower here, founder of GowerCrowd.com and host of the Easy Win AI Real Estate Show on good podcasts everywhere. You also find us on YouTube. Just look me up, Adam Gower, and try running easywin.ai. See if that pops up. It's a new show, so it may or may not, but you should find me with Adam Gower. Right, so my guest today is Luca Zambello, who is CEO of Jurny.com, Jurny.com. In my words, what Jurny.com do basically is they service the short-term rental industry. So if you've got an Airbnb or a VRBO, or you've got multiple of these, then Jurny is the platform you should be looking at. They have integrated. Wait until you hear him. I mean, he is fascinating to listen to, and you can just tell from the way he talks about AI and the integration with all these disparate systems that short-term rental STR users generally have to deal with, and how he's made that so much more efficient using AI. It's going to blow your mind. It is really incredible. In fact, just talking about it for this introduction makes me think of somebody I want to introduce him to, who has a huge network of SEOs, actually an accountant, who knows, I don't know, hundreds, if not thousands of owners. So if you do have short-term rentals, this is an amazing episode to listen to. And even if you don't, it's going to give you a sense of how fundamentally AI is changing the world of real estate. If you are not already a subscriber to our newsletter, go to easywin.ai and sign up there. It is a parallel newsletter to the podcast series. They go hand in hand. So please sign up there. You can always unsubscribe. I'm not quite sure how often we're going to be putting it out. At minimum once a week, possibly more frequently than that. But we will be giving you sound bites and easy things to do. Sound bites meaning things that you can actually use, right? Practical ways that you can integrate AI into your life very, very easily, incrementally, so it's not overwhelming, all there at easywin.ai. Okay, let's get on to Luca Zambello, CEO of Jurny.com. You are going to really love this episode. Here he is. Luca, oh, so happy to meet you. Thanks so much for joining me today. Right, I got a question. It's the very top here. I went onto your LinkedIn profile, as one does. And here's what it says right there. It says, Jurny, Jurny, your company, is a tech company with the mission of bringing hospitality into the age of AI and automation. I love that. Tell me more. What's the story behind the founding of Jurny? What inspired you? What's it all about?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Well, I've been in the industry for a bit over a decade now, and I started like many with the short-term rental industry, Airbnb, with the boom of Airbnb. I think it opened up the door to a lot of people to experiment with hospitality, and some grow companies within hospitality. I had a few different companies, of which the last one was a management company that we ran, and over 300 individual apartments, and rent them out as a short-term rental. We raised the VC money to scale and grow that company. And while I was doing that, I realized some major fundamental problems within our industry, and was the lack of automations, fragmentations of technologies, and seeing how much could have been done with technologies. It just excited me, and I started building a solution for that. Initially, it was for us as a company, as a management company, and then eventually we decided to make that our main business, and that's how we got here to Jurny. And obviously, with the rise of AI, we saw that as possibly the absolute best tool to enhance what we are already doing and what our mission was already. So
fascinating. Yeah, I hear that a lot. Companies that find that there's a gap in something that they need, and so they develop it and then realize there's actually more money to be made in the thing that they just developed to help themselves than there is what they were doing in the first place. All right. So what is the, describe more about the, how you operate. What is it that you do? How do you solve, what were the problems that you had as a manager of all these apartments that now you have developed an AI solution for? So let's start there and weave that story, if you will.
Yeah, as a start, I think looking specifically at the short-term rental industry, you have a much greater need to automate things than a typical hotel because your operation is fragmented. So you don't have economy of scale. It's very hard to have the advantage of economy of scale. In fact, many larger companies in the short-term rental space have failed because you don't really get an advantage of growing. Actually, you get a disadvantage because you lose touch with the on-ground teams, which are something that you really need.
You lose touch with what, Luca?
You know, like when you have someone who's local, it's going to outperform you in dynamic pricing because they're going to know which local events there are. They're just going to outperform you in finding best cleaners because they're probably going to know someone directly and sourcing cleaners and sourcing best deals in terms of real estate. So actually the short-term rental industry, you have somewhat of a disadvantage of being large.
That's interesting. All right, so let me just drill down on that point, and then we can do it incrementally if you don't mind. So the pain points when you do grow are these kind of practical operational things, right? Finding cleaners, adjusting pricing according to what kind of events there are nearby that are going. What other kind of pain points are there that Jurny solves?
Yeah, well, so that was necessarily the major pain points. Actually, I mean, obviously dynamic pricing and some of the stuff that we're solving is that on top of that you have a million other things that you need to solve for.
Okay.
Right. Which is the most complicated part and most time consuming is guest management. So guest management is from giving check-in instructions and making sure that the guest checks in properly, but even handling the how-to things when they're in apartments or even in boutique hotels that doesn't have a front desk. Like they need to know, or even if you have a front desk, it's a limited front desk. You have somebody who's going to call you, hey, how do I turn on the dishwasher? Why is my Netflix not working? And then it's like, oh, my unit is not clean. What can you do about it? Right? Like that's the whole guest management side of things. It's huge cost for hospitality companies in general, mainly short-term rentals, but it goes much further than that. And so one of the things that we saw is that there were many different solutions that were trying to solve some of these problems, but super fragmented, right? You have dynamic pricing software they're trying to solve for pricing management, right? And we're like, okay, but can you put them all together? Technically, you can. We can do this with PMSs, property management systems. But those don't have really interest on making sure that these connections are really strong or making sure that they have somewhat of a curated environment to work with. So they just want to say, we have as many connections as we possibly have, but they don't care about the quality of the connections of these different solutions. So the first problem that we solved was to find best in class, put it together, and package it in a very solid product that can solve.
Okay. That's fascinating. So let me I'm just going to have to forgive me for asking questions as you go along. All right. So what you're describing here is a landscape where there are service providers who are providing solutions to these pain points, but they're all separate.
Yes.
Right? They're all like different, whatever. They have their own specialty, right? Dynamic pricing. How do you find a house cleaner? Etc. So they're all specialized. All right. Okay. So there's a few of those and you find the best of them. And then what did you do?
That's exactly it. So we find the best, and where we couldn't find the best, we build it. So for example, access control system and connectivity to all different IoT devices, we built it from scratch. Because
IoT?
yeah, like for example, smart locks, smart thermostats and stuff like that. And so we build a whole control panel, and that whole solutions we build it ourselves. But for example, for cleaning management, or hiring of cleaning, we work with companies called Turno. So we embedded that company, that the whole solution within our solution. So very, very deep within integration. Same thing with dynamic pricing. Went very deep and embedded those solutions in our system. Why is that important? It's important for two reasons. They're both equally important, but one has huge consequences. I know that's the
Anybody watching, there was just like this kind of explosion of balloons that went. It's obviously you're on a Mac or something over there.
two things.
See if I can do it. I don't know if I do that. You know, there's all kinds of weird things.
I know.
All right, go on. So two key things, right? Yeah.
So why it's extremely important. One is obviously from a user standpoint, like especially in hospitality, when people are not so used to use technologies, they want to start implementing technologies for their operations. They get into the market and they're bombarded by a million solutions. So we simplify all of that. You're like, okay, if you use Jurny, you have one solution that connects to everything. We already chose best in class. You don't have to do a thing. In addition to that, these solutions are talking to one another, which creates a much, even a greater advantage. One, obviously, because it makes the whole system way more automated, and it allows you to do a lot more things by having this different solution talk to one another. For instance, knowing when your cleaner has opened or closed the door, and talking to the cleaning management software, and knowing that unit is being cleaned, and updating your property management system that cleaner is being cleaned. It's an important data point to have, and not having to have somebody going and checking if that unit has been done, and or relying on the cleaners to do it. It's a massive advantage, right? So that's to be in the practical part. Even more importantly, which is the second point, is the AI component. This is where I think, especially in our industry, people are so underestimating what's about to happen. And when you work closely with this technology, you realize its potential. You realize two things about this technology. One is its rate of improvement, and two, how far it is already, which are both extremely impressive. And why is it important that we have built this infrastructure that unify all these different systems in one system? Is because you can have the smartest AI in the world, but if it doesn't have accessibility to take action, do things, read data, and understand what's going on within your operation, they cannot be useful, or they be useful for very little things. So that's the second very important point, but there's so much to be said.
All right. So I gotta ask you a couple of things then. Actually, three things. Oh my goodness. First is, just for clarification, access systems. You actually built a system that managed access control across your entire portfolio. Is that right? So what that meant, that you went onto one screen and you were able to control everything from one place. But before that, how was there were no vendors that could do that for you?
Well, so there's a lot of smart lock companies out there, which you want to integrate with. But the way that this integration worked, or the third-party solutions that were out there, that were not reliable, extremely expensive. So we make sure that we were able to deliver something, and we could customize it for our use case. Not having reliability as a smart lock integration partner means that the dark code for the guest might not work. The dark code lock that is to a guest might not be working, which is a very terrible guest experience. So we cannot allow that. That's the problem that's happened with technologies today. The reliability, especially in hospitality, is extremely low. It's improving, but it's extremely low. So building these connections ourselves and building those gaps filling those gaps ourselves as ensure that we build a very extremely solid system, which is very important. And
Okay.
also easier to use because now you have everything in one place. You control everything from a single place.
Okay. So now you say everything talks to each other. So what does that mean from the user perspective? What does it mean to talk to each other exactly? What is that concept? Kind of unwrap that from a user perspective.
Yeah, from a user perspective, it just means that you have a lot of information available in one place without having to rely too much on people to get those information.
And then the AI overlay. So what is AI doing now?
Exactly. So that's why I said it's exciting, but the second component is even more exciting because just you don't have to then now rely on people. Why this is so important? It's subtle, but it's extremely important. So as you as a user don't have to rely on people and having access to this precise informations, accurate informations. Now AI doesn't have to do that either. Because it would be a problem if AI needs to rely on people figuring out like if that unit is occupied or not, if that unit is being cleaned or not, to understand how to best price that unit. You want to make sure AI has access to all this information to understand who's staying in the units and is there a possibility for an upsell possibly in that units? Where's that unit's geolocated? Is a guest did a guest show up too early for its checking? And it's an Airbnb. Where do you send them? The AI will know. It's like, hey, you know what? This unit is in Dallas, Texas, is in downtown. I'm going to do a quick search to see what are the best restaurants out there.
No way.
When they're open, and I'm going to be like, hey, there's XYZ locations open. You can go and wait there.
Okay, so we need to talk about this in more detail and really drill down on what it looks like. So you understand what's going on here. You understand what's going on because you're building the thing and running it there at Jurny. But from a user experience, let's just think about this. Somebody shows up at an apartment in Dallas early. So how are they interfacing or how are they interacting with Jurny, with the AI? They're doing what? They're saying, okay, I'm here, but it's locked. And then what's going on in the background that previously would have been a laborious manual task?
I love the question. So first of all, who's using Jurny? It's going to be someone who's hosting, 1 to maybe 100 units on Airbnb or even more, right? Or possibly even some boutique hotels we have as well. So you're hosting a unit on Airbnb, you connect and Verbal, right? And booking.com, and you connected that unit to our system. Our system makes sure that everything is in sync, the calendar, everything is in sync. Now a guest books the units, right? Our system makes sure that the guests receive all the proper check-in instruction and everything via email and via the text box that you have on Airbnb, right? If you're communicating through Airbnb, you will communicate through there. It could be WhatsApp, whatever. Our AI is in the back of everything. So you don't know as a guest you're talking to AI. Because in the end of the day, and here's going to make a big claim, but it's true. AI will give and is currently giving, and we have cases, better guest experience than humans. Which is kind of like a interesting point because everybody said hospitality is made by people. And here you have a technology that is challenging people. And I tell you why. Because it's faster at giving you answers. It's not moody. It's very professional. It will represent your brand to perfection. You can set up the tonality and the way you want it to handle tasks, customized to you and your brand. And you can have multiple brands within the same company and customize those. From a guest perspective, now a guest tries to check in, comes in too early, and it will send a message to its host on Airbnb and say, hey, I'm here, like, can I get into units? And then they're like, hey, we're so sorry. In the check-in instruction was mentioned, but the check-in was at 2:00. But you know what? Here's a suggested 3 places you can go. They are walking distance from our house. They're highly rated. You could wait over there. Let me know if that will work for you. And then you can say yes, okay, thank you, or whatever. Like if there is an issue, it can suggest other things, or if it sees that it's something that it cannot solve, the host would set up an escalation process.
Okay.
Depending on the issue, it can escalate to a human, so it will automatically go to a human. But the AI will text that human or Slack that human and say, hey, I have this issue, so how do you want me to solve it?
It's just insane. It's incredible.
An infinite scalable team of people that you can build. So we actually, our next release is like, we're allowing for people to cluster units into different clusters and assign different teams to those clusters. So you can build custom teams, because within
What do you mean a custom team?
I explain it to you. Yes, so AI. We realize that AI is so much better because of people's experience of AI is oftentimes like dealing with ChatGPT. But being a ChatGPT is extremely hard because you have to be good at so many different things. But when you actually focus AI to do a specific task, it becomes 100 times more accurate. It's so good at it. Scary good at it today.
It is scary. There's some of the stuff, just sorry to just jump in. Some of the stuff, Luca, that I do is out there in seconds. It's like the amount of extra time and productivity that I personally have every single day is I'm probably 50% more productive. And I know that I am barely touching the surface yet.
Everybody.
It's insane. Sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted you, but I have to share the experience.
Oh, absolutely. But even the companies like us, like like we see the potentials and we're like, okay, we haven't even started. Like, wait, what happens in a year? It's going to be nuts.
I was talking to somebody yesterday about where we'll be in 5 years. You can't imagine where we'll be in 5 years.
I can't even imagine where we're going to be in 12 months.
Yeah, exactly. It's by the end of the year. It's impossible to comprehend. Yeah.
Like, I think so. LLMs or large models are improving at an exponential rate. But at the same time, what they can already do will improve exponentially by improving its infrastructure, which is like what we're building the infrastructure. So what happens is when you have exponential improvements in infrastructure and exponential improvements on the model itself, it's exponential times 2. It's it's like
incomprehensible growth speed. Let's get back to Jurny. We could talk about this for hours. So let's get back to Jurny. So I asked you about, what did I ask you about? I asked you about clusters.
Yes.
Right.
So one thing that we realize, and this is a little bit of a trade secret, but soon everybody's going to be talking about it, so I don't care. We start sharing it. You're going to hear about agents, right? People start talking about agents. We've been working on agents for years already. And basically, it's the idea of taking a large language model and then create a personality almost that specializes on specific tasks. So, for example, you could have a reservation agent or guest communication agent. Guest communication agent it's focused on understanding the tonality of the guest, understanding what the guests ask, and understanding how to escalate the different things that the guest has asked. It's all so focused. Then you have a reservation agent that's focused on understanding the information about the reservations, right? Then you have, for example, the concierge. Just like you have a team of people, that you would have a team that handles whatever company you're running, but more specifically, hospitality company. Right? You have a front desk, you have a concierge, you have somebody that does your back end office, someone who deals with refunds, right? Just specifically for that. We just build the exact same thing. You have these different personas that you can put together and then give different training or give a different guidance on how to handle things based on the specific clusters of units. So, for example, you could have a cluster that is one hotel, and you want to have specific protocols for that hotel. So you have specific frequently asked questions for that hotel, and that lives on its own. And then you can do the exact same thing with another cluster of units. So now you have an infinite scalable team of people that will handle first, second, and even sometimes third layers of communications for you. Yeah. I don't know if you understand the impact. I actually want to share one data point, and then I shut up.
Don't shut up, please.
One important data point. So this is a study we've done internally by interviewing a lot of different hosts in the hundreds of numbers, just for put things in perspective. And we said, okay, so, and then also doing a lot of research, what is the productivity to handle guest management for somebody that doesn't use any technology or very minimal?
Mm-hmm.
And you can get one person every 7 to 8 units about.
Mm-hmm.
But good automations, good technology available today, you can get one every 16, 17 units. Today on our system, it's one every 50, 150, okay, today. But again, as I said, we haven't even scratched the surface. With what we have developed in partnership with a lot of hosts, so there, some of them were managing in the hundreds of units. We already say that our next release that we're releasing in 3 months is going to be one every 200.
Let me just clarify that statistic. This is the tech troglodyte, if you'll let me use the term, right? Somebody who doesn't have a cell phone and refuses to go online. They want to, if you can't scratch a window with it, they don't trust it kind of person, right?
Yes,
Got
exactly.
it.
Exactly. We actually say even that person is using possibly, an Airbnb, Booking.com, stuff like that, but not really utilizing anything to automate, automated messages for check-ins and so on and so. People that are using automated messaging and stuff like that, they can get one about 18. With your typical automation that's been existing until today. With our solution using AI is one every 50, and what it's coming in 3 months, not even in 2 months.
Okay, so this statistic, I'm a little more skeptical about this statistic, just by the way. And the only reason is because presumably the more sophisticated your tech becomes, the more it appeals to people, even just intuitively, even subconsciously, who are tech sophisticated. So it's going to draw more people like that, isn't it? Necessarily, I mean, just by natural selection.
Expand on that. What do you mean?
I'm trying to think of an example, and maybe I shouldn't have even mentioned it, but it seems that the idea that the number of people who are not tech savvy, that number that's going down and down and down.
Well, no, I was mentioning basically how many people you need to manage. So one person.
Oh, I see. Now I get it.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, sorry, missed it. Okay, I was totally getting that wrong. So one person for 5 units, now one person for 200 units.
Okay, exactly. You got that correct.
Okay, gosh, I was down a total. I was because I'm ancient myself. I was thinking something completely different. Got it. That's incredible.
We're already like almost 10x basically efficiency because we're one.
That's extraordinary.
But we're about to 10x that, by the way, because by the end of the year we say we're going to be one over 500, and then from there it's going to be kind of hard to go even more, a lot more efficient than that. I mean, we will, but I think it's going to be more in terms of.
Well, look, Luca, to interrupt. At some point, the whole thing presumably becomes autonomous completely, and you don't need anybody. You just switch it on, and
you need people to.
You need people to clean it. I'll tell you something funny, actually. Many years ago, I went to visit. I'm going to tell you an anecdote now just to share this idea. But many years ago, I went to visit a bakery. It was a McDonald's bakery. The thing was massive, acres and acres and acres. And at one end of it, they had these huge silos where they poured the ingredients. And at the other end of it, quite almost literally, boxes came off with all these buns.
Yeah.
And they produced 144,000 gross of these. It was like the numbers were insane. And there were 5 people that worked there. That's crazy. All they did, I kind of joke. I think all they did was walk around oiling the machine. That's all they did. The whole thing was that's what you're talking about here.
That's what I'm talking about.
Just make sure that, the bugs are cleaned out. Okay, let's, gosh, I would love to talk for several hours with you. Absolutely fascinating fellow. I do want to, I sent you 3 final questions, but let's not touch those yet. I want to touch on something else. I think I found you because you're doing a capital raise, aren't you? So tell me something, if you would, please, about how you guys are. Actually, what's your, to the extent you want to share it, presumably, I'm sure you do, your financial model. How do you make money? And how are you? You're out there raising money, aren't you? So talk about that as well.
Yeah. So how we make money, we have a freemium product. So like although the free version is now overwhelmed with a waiting list with over 300 hosts on a waiting list. So we're managing the free aspect right now. But somebody can have instant access if they pay more of the premium side, which they get a more advanced AI and even more connectivity to more partners and so on. So we have a 59 per units per month and a 99 per units per month. So if somebody has like 100 units, obviously will be 99 times that. If you pay a year in advance or do yearly agreements, we give you discounts. So if you have more, in the hundreds of units, we'll also give you discounts.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of how it works. So it's a SaaS model, pretty predictable revenue, and we're raising money simply because a lot of people just build a product and start selling it like it's a solid product. They stop innovating. If you build software, in my opinion, you have to constantly innovate, especially right now. The cost of opportunity is massive with AI. And so we want to keep reinvesting as much as we can in this technology. And so we decided to raise money. We raise a combination of the venture money, and then we open also a crowdfunding round.
Right. Where was that actually, Luca? Was it? I want to say WeFunder. I forgot. Where you did?
Start Engine, yeah.
Start Engine. Sorry. Yeah, Start Engine. That's right.
For one point as well.
Sorry, say that again.
We were on WeFunder at one point. We're now on Start Engine and possibly eventually going back to WeFunder one day. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, so how does so you're actively raising capital now? Again, I don't know. If you can talk about it, I can't imagine why you wouldn't. You're trying to raise money, but how much are you raising? What's the current valuation, and where do you think, how rapid do you think your growth is going to be?
So we're closing on June 18, this round, and on Start Engine, and our aim was to raise $1 million. I think we're going to raise just that, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more. I don't know, but we're closing on the 18, and I mean the goal was to have a lot of our customers invest. We have a lot of people that are fans of what we're doing. So yes, a full component is capital, but we also are venture backed, so we can raise capital from VC as well. But another component is to get people invest in our mission. A lot of people like what we're doing. They like to invest and be part of it. And there's nothing better than having a customer investing in your company because they become stakeholders.
And evangelists. Exactly. That's right.
Build a product. As I mentioned, like the next release of our AI component, the name is Nia and Nia agents that we talked about. It's just building collaboration with 5 of our top customers who are also investors. So that's pretty exciting.
Luca, I tell you something, it's phenomenal. I've got a list of about 30 questions here because I'd love to keep talking to you. But let's wrap it up. I did send you 3 that I would love to follow up, like wrap up with, if you don't mind. So first question of my final 3. Why should real estate professionals, and think about it in the real estate sense, right? The lens of real estate and Airbnb being a real estate business. Why should real estate professionals be paying attention to AI today?
I mean, I think almost in any verticals, any industry right now, anybody is not paying attention to this technology is making a big mistake. All I can say is like retails when e-commerce were coming into the market, right? If you're a retailer, you didn't pay attention, it was cause you a lot of problems. Blockbuster, Netflix, this is a big disruptor, and the gap that I was mentioning before, so one who uses technology, so one who doesn't, there is a gap, but you can still survive with that gap. But when you're talking about like a 100x inefficiency and output, you're not going to compete. there's no competing. So there's going to be full businesses are going to be completely wiped out if they don't pay attention to this technology. I mean, I just have 3 data points to share. Okay. This happened in the last 7 days. Okay. NVIDIA, $2.7 trillion market cap. Elon Musk raised $6 billion to compete against OpenAI. And SoftBank decided to invest at least $8 billion a year in AI startups. This happened in the last 7 days. If the top of the market decides to move this much money into this technology, there is a reason.
It's mind-blowing, isn't it? These numbers are just beyond comprehension. And by the way, we should probably date this podcast as well. So we're like the end of May 2024. This will all be different by the end of June.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Right. All right. Second question. So, Luca, how do you actually use? So the idea of this question is to give viewers an idea of how they can incrementally understand how people use it in a practical sense every day, not the high level, rocket science stuff. How do you use AI daily? What tools and apps do you use?
Yeah, so ChatGPT is the most used that I use, but I use specifically custom GPTs. You have to upgrade into the premium, and then you can go into settings and you can say, create my own GPT. This is something, it's not, a non-technical person can do it. I promise you that. But this is, and there's so many ways in which I leverage AI, but this is one of the simplest one. So for example, I have conversation that I have constantly with investors, especially in the crowdfunding. I get asked oftentimes the same question over and over, but in a little bit in different format. So I have to answer somewhat in a personalized way. So some of my investors hearing this might feel like betrayed that I'm sharing these secrets, but
it's fine.
I took like 100 something questions that have been asked over and over. I literally just copied and pasted into a sheet, and then I uploaded and I said, I'm creating this GPT because I want to have a investor helper to help me answer investors' questions. These are most frequently asked questions that I have. Please learn from my style and from the question and answers that I usually give. So whenever I copy straight up a question, you give me an answer just like it was me. I tweak it anyways, just to make sure that there's nothing correct. The question is the same. The answer sounds like me because now it's me. And now I have this custom GPT, and whenever I have a question from an investor, I open it and I paste the question, and then I have an answer. It saves me insane amount of, still me who reviews it and make sure that the answer is accurate and the data points are accurate. But instead of taking me like 30 minutes, now like 40 minutes sometimes put together all the data, go find all the data points and everything. Now it takes me like 2 minutes. Big time. And you can do that with so many different things. I have a word polisher. Like I just copy and paste an email that I just typed and then just polish it up. It doesn't.
That's a chat GPT. That's that's a custom GPT, is it? You did for that?
Custom GPT that I built. Some of them I made available for other people to use, and you can find some of them as well. But that's
last question. Please, can you give the viewers? So you gave us one with the chat GPT. I'm sorry, a custom GPT. Anyone can do it. But even that might be a little, technical for the troglodytes amongst us, right? So can you give viewers an easy win? That's the name of this show, right? Easy win AI. Something really it can do immediately after as soon as they stop listening, they can go after the show, they can test it, try it, advance their skills, even just a little incrementally. What easy win can you share?
Just learn how to prompt. That's I think the basic, specifically I again like use GPT 4.0, but just learning how to prompt it's everything in AI. So, and one ways that you can do is you can ask specifically AI, hey, instead of saying, hey, solve me this, hey, do this for me, say, hey, I want to do this. Can you ask me 20 questions so that you have all the relevant informations to make sure that I give you the best prompt to solve that problem? And then you will see a massive difference, because people go in and say, hey, write me an article about AI. And then it spits out a bunch of gibberish, junk. But it's all about the prompt, right? That's why we do specialized agents. They do specific things. It's because we can be very good at a few different prompts. So
for example, let's just break that up briefly. Gosh, you see, we are going super long. Let's just break it up. So let's say you're going to say, I want an article on AI, right? And the language model, the LLM, doesn't know anything about you. So you would say to it, and your view of the world and why you're interested. So it's ask me 10 questions. I want to write an article on AI. Ask me 10 questions. So then it's going to ask you, and it's going to iterate, and you'll answer those questions back and forth. And then once you've done that, you could say to it, all right, can you now give me a prompt that I can use to ask Claude, right? Or to ask Perplexity, or to ask another that I can use to get different variations of this article so I can find something really cool. Absolutely. Is that what you're suggesting? Something like that, right?
Just in that, but I'm even suggesting even for even if you don't want to use a different AI, I'm saying like, hey, if you want to write I need to write an article about AI, more specific about this topic. Can you ask me 20 questions to make sure that you can write the most accurate article? You answer those 20 questions, you will have an output that is 10 times better, 20 times better than what you would otherwise.
Luca Zambello. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? No? Yes?
Yes.
I did. I got it right. Okay. It's Luca Zambello, CEO of Jurny, Jurny, right? Is it .ai? I've not got it up on the screen. I've just been looking at my notes. .com? .com. So you're still in the .coms, but Jurny.com. What an amazing conversation. Super nice fella. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Right, that was Luca Zambello, who is CEO at Jurny.com. Fascinating guy, right? Isn't that interesting? The one thing that really blows me away is this idea. And of course, I was off on a totally random tangent. I know what I was thinking about when he was talking about 6 people and so that's not the other. But the thing that really blew me away was this idea that one person can manage 5 or 6 Airbnbs at once without being overwhelmed. But with Jurny, they're on the path to being able to manage 200, but just one person, 200 units all at once. It's just the mind boggles, having everything automated, all communications with visitors and guests, and all the house cleaning. It's just, I just find it mind-bogglingly amazing. And I'm like super obsessed with this stuff. All right, anyway, so enough of me rattling on about that. I hope you're as enthusiastic as I am about it. So if you are, you'll be looking forward to the next episode. I don't know who that is yet, but whoever it is, first of all, actually, Luca, thank you for joining me. It's really nice to meet you. I am going to have a little investment in your company, I think, and I'm going to go ahead and get off this introduction. I'm sorry, this wrap up. And I am going to have a little flutter on your company. And thank you, dear viewers, as well, for joining us today. We will, that's it. I'm going to wrap up. Stop talking. I'm going to wrap up. This is Adam Gower. I'll see you next time. But until then, there I am, signing off.